welcome back. Of course, we just went from the Oregon House to the Oregon Senate. Now we're going to jump across the country and go to Washington, D.C. And honored to have back with us our good friend Jim Dornan. Jim is a Republican strategist, has been in the know and in the circle, in the heat, in the swamp for years. And he survived. He's still taking in oxygen. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing okay, but I'm not sure I'm worthy to be on the show with Christine and Bruce.
Well, there you go. That's a hard act to follow, but give it your best shot, okay?
Will indeed.
Thanks, man. Good to see you. So are you sleeping at night inside Washington, D.C., knowing the crime rate's down?
That's one of the reasons. Also, Congress is out of town, so it's a lot easier to sleep as well.
What's been the word on the streets there in D.C. with what's going on with the president taking over the police department there?
You know, it's really been a mixed bag of things. A lot of people don't want to like it because it's Trump and he's kind of imposing it on D.C., which has always had kind of a chip on its shoulder regarding home rule anyway. And it's a little disconcerting seeing a bunch of National Guard members standing on a street corner with guns. But the stats don't lie, and crime has decreased significantly in just a few weeks. And so I got to give the president credit where credit is due. I mean, it's all good. I mean, they've confiscated 159 guns, which is a big problem here in D.C., and that's a great start.
Do you think he gets renewed after 30 days when Congress comes back?
Boy, that's a good question. I think it goes to exactly what I just said, is there will be people who oppose him because it's Trump and because it's a little bit of overkill, but there'll be others who are saying, wait a minute, it works, and the Democrats have to worry about 2026. I mean, Trump has grabbed this issue, and he's done a very good job on it. And if you look at places like New York, where the Democrats came very close to losing their governor last cycle because of the crime issue, they've got to think twice about how strongly they oppose this.
Do you think he goes to Chicago uninvited?
I do indeed. I think he's got, for some reason, Chicago and Baltimore on his radar screen, and I think it has a lot to do with the fact that both the mayors of those cities are right in his face about this.
So does he do that under Emergency Act? How does he do this?
Well, yes. And he's used a very broad swath, if you will, of a definition of emergency. And so far it's worked and the courts have backed him up. There will be a couple more court cases, as there always are. And I think that they'll probably wind up saying, you know, it's working. I think he can do this. And again, the mayors will complain because it's their territory he's infringing on. But I think the long run is going to be what are the results. And so far, the results have been good.
If I understand right, the governor of Massachusetts likes the idea, but the mayor of Baltimore may not. Is that true?
100%. And I think it's for the reasons we just talked about, is that it's an infringement on their territory, on their power. But the problem is that they're not doing anything to decrease the crime rate in their cities.
Do you find it a little ironic that I laugh a little bit, but Governor Newsom has announced a crime suppression I'm not even sure what that is. A crime suppression force to take a look at California. Wow.
Well, I think you're seeing Newsom do a huge push right now towards 2028. I mean, that's what all of this is about. He's doing the same thing with redistricting, as you know, and I think he's trying to become the Democratic Trump out there that people can support and root for. And so all of these moves are moving in that direction. And, you know, call me maybe a little cynical for saying it's good policy that he's doing it. It's not. He wants to be president.
Yeah, he's using California to go forward. So to that point, just a little bit, Jim, do you think referendum 50 or measure 50 in California passes?
Boy, that's a great question. It's an awful short period of time to get people to change their minds, which the Democrats basically supported the independent commission who controls California's redistricting right now. I think Newsom can make the case, but it's November, so there are not a lot of days between now and then to get a huge referendum passed in a huge state. But the money is being raised. I do know that. And Newsom thinks he can do it. And again, I think it's make or break for his presidential aspirations.
So, you know, you're well experienced in this. How do you redistrict a blue state?
That's a great question. Well, I don't know if you've seen the map, Perry, but boy, they did a great job of it. I was talking with a friend of mine last night who works for a congressional caucus called the Western Caucus, and she says we're going to lose half our members in California if that map goes through. I mean, it's a science, and we have AI now, so it's doable. But boy, oh boy, I mean, I don't like this at all, to be perfectly honest with you, but they're doing what they have to do. And if one side does it, the other side's going to do it right back.
Swinging back to your backyard there, Trump and the Federal Reserve, you know, got a little bit of a controversy going on, especially with Governor Cook. They come back next week. What do you think happens here?
I think she's going to take him to court. I think she already has, to be honest with you. And I mean, Trump has made it very clear he doesn't want Powell there anymore. He wants people that agree with him to lower rates. But the history of the president being involved in the Fed's policymaking is not good for this economy. There are probably a half a dozen different examples in the past of when presidents have tried to influence the Fed, and it's been bad for the economy. And I think we ought to leave the economists and the experts to deal with the economy and the politicians to stay out of it, frankly.
I understand the president can't fire the Fed chair, but does he have the power to remove somebody from the governing board?
Well, that's her argument against it. And again, it's a court case. I don't know. I think there are good arguments for and against it because I don't think the Constitution is very clear on it. But I mean, she was appointed by Biden, and there's a reason why they have that system the way they have with different appointees to different agencies and whatnot, is to keep it so it's not a partisan issue. And so they are doing it for good policy and not good politics. So she's taking him to court, and we'll find out probably very quickly whether he has that right or not.
Okay, because if I understand correctly, the judge will decide today as to whether or not she can move forward with her suit. But in the meantime, she's never denied that maybe she's guilty of mortgage fraud, and that's been filed against her. So he's using that as a reason to get rid of her. Kind of an interesting twist.
Very much so, and it's probably his best argument. However, those are strictly allegations at this point. She's been accused of it, but she hasn't been convicted of it. So, and that's her point. I didn't do anything wrong, and legally, I'm still in good standing. And his argument is, well, you've been accused of this. You're not in good standing. So a judge will make that decision, as it has for almost everything that Trump and his opponents have gone.
So, Jim, relax, boy. Does your buddy at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue get the Nobel Peace Prize?
Well, if any leader who wants U.S. aid has anything to do with it, yes. But that's a good question. And again, I mean, the Nobel Prize should not be political. It is. We all know it is. Mm-hmm. And I think there are arguments for and against it. I mean, and I think it's a Scandinavian thing. So maybe if he lays off of Greenland, they'll say, okay, you can get the prize.
I'll have to be honest with you. It's just my personal opinion. I'll be surprised if he does. I think this is kind of like the ultimate international rejection of him, you know.
Right. Oh, yeah, and he'll blame it on Obama, to be quite honest.
Well, yeah, of course he will. So what's going on with the CDC? He's trying to remove the chief there. He has the power to do that. What's going to happen there?
Well, again, it's going to court. But CDC is a mess, and it really is one agency that it shouldn't be at this point, because COVID was kind of a disaster for both Biden and Trump. And we got to restore some trust in things like vaccines, which people are saying no to now. And I mean, who knows what the long-term effects are going to be with that regarding where this disease goes, this virus goes. So, I mean, I wish they would just kind of get it together. And, you know, Kennedy is ticking off Republicans now. I mean, Trump is going to back him, of course, because he appointed him. But there needs to be a little bit more solidarity and just moving forward in a positive way, and not all these interruptions. I don't think it bodes well for the country, to be honest.
There's a move through the courts now, and it could end up in the D.C. circuit, to stop President Trump from tariffs based upon the fact that tariffs are considered a tax and that should come through Congress. I get that, but does it really go anywhere when tariffs has been used as a source of income in previous American history?
No, I'm anti-tariff, as you and I have talked about before, but I think this is an executive privilege that Trump is using, and it'll either work or it won't. I mean, there are some indications that there will be some inflation coming towards Christmas. It hasn't happened yet, and the market is pretty much okay with the tariffs. So right now, it's all positive. The long-term effects are going to be what affects basically Trump in the midterms in 2026.
All right, so now that you've enjoyed a little peace in town and they're coming back to town, what do you think's on the agenda between now and the end of the year?
I think issue one is going to be the budget. I mean, neither house has passed any of the appropriations bills. There are 13 of them. And we need to do that, or they need to do that, in order to fund the government. And I think Congress gets back next week. Epstein seems to be completely behind us now. It may not be for much longer, but it is. I think Johnson's move was correct in getting those guys out of town. But they've got to fund the government now, and right now they're not even close. They're talking about another big, beautiful bill. I think that's probably a mistake. He ought to concentrate on what has to be done instead of what he wants to get done, and then get through the end of the year and start all over again on January 1.
So this is the deal splitter among Republicans, isn't it? I mean, this is where conservatives divide. And can the president afford suggesting we kick the can down the road again, that we just give this a little bit of a break? Can he afford to do this?
I don't think it's a question of whether he can afford to. It's can he get it done? And I think the answer is going to be no. The Ted Cruzes and the Rand Pauls of the world are at the end of their rope with regards to continuing resolutions and funding the government without really cutting back on the deficit or the debt or spending, frankly. So I think he's got to be very careful. He may look at it, listen, they can't vote me out of office so I can do what I want. That's one way of looking at it. Or let's do the right thing and I can get what I want to get done still within the parameters that have been set. So, I mean, he's really got to work with both the House and the Senate, especially leadership, and get these guys in line on what he wants. And whether that happens or not, I'm not sure. I mean, they've got their own political futures to look at as well.
Okay. This is so interesting because at the end of the day, this was the whole purpose of Doge, and it somehow doesn't show up on this balance sheet. You're kind of going, what's going on here?
Yeah, Doge is not really what it was supposed to be. I think it came off as a great idea, and everybody jumped on it right away. And then people saw that there were massive mistakes. I mean, I think one thing you can look at is air traffic control. They shut down Newark Airport again yesterday because they didn't have enough personnel on staff manning the systems. So I think we've got to take a good long look at, yes, we do need to cut spending. There is waste, fraud, and abuse, but this massive cut across the board is not the way to handle it. You've got to pick and choose. And the government is big and it's deep, and it's not easily slayed, if you will.
One other quick question, Jim. I know that there's now, and I personally believe, some legitimate pushback on ICE. And I want to say this carefully because I don't want people to misunderstand me. I understand we need to round up the bad people and get them out of town. But there's a lot of people who've been here prior to all the border messes that have been working hard. And what I see suffering here, especially on the West Coast and the Central Valley, it's harvest time. And we don't have the workers. Manufacturers don't have the workers. Is there any movement to come up with maybe a yellow card or something that these people can stay and work?
They had a solution to this a couple years ago, and Trump called it off, as we know, and the Democrats continue to remind us about. And I agree with you completely. I've talked to business owners here in D.C., restaurant owners. They're going to lose all their back of the house staff, meaning the cooks and the busboys and the rest. I've also got a very close friend who owns the biggest orchard in Washington State. In fact, it's the third biggest orchard in the country, and they sell to Walmart and McDonald's, et cetera. And ICE came up and shut them down a few years ago, or shut down their workers. They put out a help wanted sign, and they had one person show up, one American. I mean, that's not going to help. We need these guys in our system. They're a big part of the economy. And I agree with you 100% that it needs to be dealt with. It needs to be dealt with immediately.
Well, look, I know we've had work permits in the past. I get all that. But now with this going on, we need to somehow figure out a way to come up. I say the yellow card, I don't know, but something that says if you're going to come and work and contribute and be here to help, you know what? They're actually pulling them off fire lines. You can't get crazier than that. So we got to figure out what we're doing here.
Well, and you said it, Perry. They're paying taxes. They're a big part of the economy. I mean, it's not like they're coming in here and just getting free stuff, which is what, one side would tell you is happening. It's not happening that way.
Yeah. Good to see you, Jim. Good to see you taking in oxygen.
I'm trying to. I've got a weekend before they're back.
Okay, buddy. Thanks for your time. Look forward to more visits.
Me too, Perry. Good seeing you. Have a good weekend.
You too.